You open your eyes for the first time. The year is 1922. The place is a cramped, fourth-floor walk-up tenement on the Lower East Side of New York City. The air smells like boiled cabbage, coal smoke, and 1,000 other families packed in like sardines. Congratulations, you've been born into the greatest city in the world, at the start of its most legendary decade. You just don't have indoor plumbing, or air conditioning, or, basic privacy. Your parents are Italian immigrants. They speak broken English and fluent yelling. Your mother, Maria, swaddles you in a blanket, while your father, Antonio, argues with the neighbors through the paper-thin walls. This is your life's soundtrack. Your first few years are a blur of noise and chaos. You learn to walk by dodging siblings in a kitchen that's also the living room and, on bath nights, the bathroom. You look out your window, past the endless lines of laundry crisscrossing the air shaft, and see a world buzzing with energy. By the time you're 5, you're a street kid. Your playground isn't a manicured park, it's the cobblestone street itself. You and your friends play stickball, using a broom handle for a bat and a rubber ball. The game only stops for 2 things: your mother screaming your name from the window, or the terrifying rumble of an approaching Ford Model T, which costs a whopping $290 brand new. You see men in dapper suits and women in short, scandalous dresses. Your older sister, Sophia, is starting to roll her stockings below the knee and use slang like the bee's knees. She's a flapper in training, and your mother is not a fan. The 1920s are roaring, and you can hear it everywhere. Jazz music, loud and rebellious, spills out of unmarked doors. Your father mutters about speakeasies and the foolishness of prohibition, the nationwide ban on alcohol that started in 1920. Of course, this just made everyone want to drink more. You see cops on the corner taking cash from men in fancy hats. You don't understand it, but you know it's a secret. The whole city feels like one big, glorious, illegal party. Your education is spotty. You go to a packed public school where the teacher spends more time trying to control 50 kids than actually teaching. You learn to read from newspapers your father brings home, filled with stories of a baseball giant named Babe Ruth hitting home runs for the Yankees. He's a god in this city. You learn your numbers by helping your mother at the market, where a loaf of bread costs about 9 cents and a quart of milk is 14 cents. Everything feels cheap, and everyone feels like they're on their way to getting rich. One afternoon, your father takes you to see the future. You stand on a street corner, neck craned, and stare up at a steel skeleton climbing into the sky. That's the Chrysler Building, he says, going to be the tallest building in the world. Construction started in 1928, and it's a race to the heavens. All around you, the city is building, growing, and celebrating. The stock market is booming. Your dad even put a few dollars in, dreaming of a house in Queens. Everyone is sure the good times will last forever. But you're about to learn a very important lesson. Forever is a lot shorter than you think. It happens on a Tuesday, the 29th of October, 1929. You're 7 years old. You don't understand the words stock market crash or Black Tuesday, but you understand the look on your father's face when he comes home. The party is over. The roar of the 20s has died, replaced by a deafening, terrifying silence. The next 10 years are a different color. The world goes from vibrant technicolor to bleak black and white. This is the Great Depression. Your father loses his construction job. The few dollars he saved are gone. The smell of cabbage in your tenement is now joined by the smell of fear. You see men in suits, men who once drove Model Ts, standing in breadlines for a cup of soup. 1 in 4 New Yorkers is unemployed. You see families put out on the street, their furniture piled on the sidewalk. You learn to be hungry. By 13, you drop out of school. Your family needs every penny. You get a job hawking newspapers on the corner for a cent a copy. Extra, extra. Read all about it. You yell, your voice cracking. You sell stories about gangsters, about President Roosevelt's New Deal, and about a man with a funny mustache rising to power in Germany. It feels a million miles away. Your biggest worry is earning enough for dinner. Your only escape is the movies. For a nickel, you can sit in the dark for hours, watching glamorous people in beautiful clothes fall in love. The talkies, which first amazed audiences with the jazz singer in 1927 are now your window to a world that isn't covered in soot and despair. You dream of being a hero, of saving your family, of just having a full meal. Then, one Sunday morning, the dream turns into a nightmare. You're 19. It's the 7th of December 1941. You're listening to the radio when the program is interrupted. A place you've never heard of, Pearl Harbor, has been attacked. The man with the funny mustache from the newspapers is no longer a million miles away. He's here. America is at war. A few months later, a letter arrives. It's from the U.S. government. You've been drafted. You trade your worn-out city clothes for a scratchy army uniform. You say a tearful goodbye to your mother, who shoves a rosary into your hand. You promise your father you'll be a good soldier. You're scared out of your mind. You, the stickball kid from the Lower East Side, are being shipped off to fight in the biggest war in human history. You see things no person should ever see. You fight in the mud of France, the snow of Belgium. You lose friends. You learn the true meaning of cold, hunger, and fear. But you also learn the meaning of courage and brotherhood. You survive. When the war in Europe ends in 1945, you're put on a ship and sent home. You arrive in New York Harbor, sailing past the Statue of Liberty. But you're not the same kid who left. You're a man now, a veteran, and the country you fought for wants to thank you. They have something called the GI Bill. It's a ticket to a new life. You use it to go to college, something you never dreamed possible. The post-war years are a boom time, even bigger than the 20s. You get a degree, a good office job, and meet a girl. You get married. The crowded tenement is a distant memory. With another government-backed loan, you buy a small house in a new place called Levittown on Long Island. It's a suburb, full of identical houses for identical families, all chasing the American dream. You have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They're called baby boomers. Their childhood is nothing like yours. They have a lawn. They have their own rooms. They don't play stickball in the street. They watch a magical box in the living room called a television. You watch Ed Sullivan with them. You see Elvis Presley shake his hips and cause a national scandal that seems quaint compared to the flappers of your youth. The world keeps changing, faster and faster. You watch the civil rights movement fight for justice. You watch in awe as a man walks on the moon in 1969. You live through the Cold War, Vietnam, Watergate. The city of your youth changes too. It becomes grittier, more dangerous in the 70s and 80s, then cleans up again. You grow old. Your hair turns grey. You become a grandparent. Your grandkids visit your suburban home, staring at their primitive cell phones that are bigger than bricks. You tell them stories about your life, about stickball and speakeasies, about breadlines and the beaches of Normandy, about seeing the Chrysler Building touch the clouds for the first time. They listen, but they can't really understand a world without Wi-Fi. You pass away peacefully in your sleep in the year 2001, just shy of your 80th birthday. You've lived an entire American century. A person born in New York in the 1920s witnessed the most rapid technological and social transformation in human history. They went from the age of the Model T to the space shuttle. From the first commercial radio broadcasts to the dawn of the Internet, they survived the Great Depression, fought in World War II, and built the modern world. Your life wasn't easy. It was loud, chaotic, often brutal, but it was lived at the heart of it all. You saw it all. You survived it all. You may not have had an easy start, but you got to watch the whole show, and you had a front row seat.